Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 131. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about The Last of Us, Sonic 3 movie, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox changes, and more. But as usual, we're going to start with the recent activities. I got a big-ass list, so I will let Damian take the lead.
Yeah, so I don't have too much, but I'm probably going to talk about it a bit. So the first one is Last of Us Part 2. So I finished the remaster or whatever. And there's gonna be all spoilers basically, because I feel like the major point of this is like the spoiler parts. But for the non-spoiler stuff, I thought it was good. Gameplay, like I said, I couldn't notice it like too much of like the gameplay changes because a lot of it was in the remake of Part 1. Like they put a lot of the stuff from Last of Us 2 in there. Obviously there's like proning wasn't in the remake of Part 1 and certain other stuff you could craft or whatever. But the basic combat model from 2 was basically put it into the remake of 1. So for me, I couldn't really feel too much of a difference, but it still felt good. I think Last of Us 2 combat is fun. The only problem is when the game is a bit too long, like Last of Us Part 2, you start to really feel the cracks more since it's still using like the Naughty Dog framework where, you go through more of a linear type gameplay experience. You have some combat encounters, you have a set piece moment, and then, there you go. And towards the end of the game, a lot of the stealth encounters felt very samey at some point because, the enemies would just patrol around. You just, you stab them or whatever. Things might go out of hand. You shoot them and there you go, So, like, it's fun for a little, it's fun for a while. But after, almost 30 hours, you're just like, okay, I'm kind of over it. So that's kind of, how that goes out. And obviously, graphically, the game looks great. People already thought it looks great on the PS4. It looks even better on PS5. Runs at a smooth 60 FPS if you play it on performance mode, which is what I did. And yeah, basically no issues there. I know it's mostly with the story stuff where people have like more, stuff wrong with it, and that's what I'm going to get into right now. So there's all spoilers now.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I actually think the second half of the game is like way stronger than the first half of the game, mostly when looking back at it. And by the second half, I'm talking about the Abby stuff, which is what a lot of people say, oh, this part sucks because I'm playing as Abby or whatever. But for me, I thought the Ellie sections, they were fine when I was going through them. But when I was playing the Abby parts, I'm like, oh, there's like actual story happening. Like, I feel like when Ellie stuff is she's so hell-bent. And I know this is the point, the point is revenge and stuff, and she really wants to kill Abby and stuff. But it's like kind of like nothing a lot of the time. You kind of just go through a thing, you kill whoever of Abby's friends, and then you kind of just move on. And, it's supposed to be like this empty feeling because Ellie's going through this like path of revenge or whatever, and it's not supposed to be like fulfilling. But I feel like a lot of it is also really ham-fisted. It's kind of like the same issue I had with, I know this is a weird comparison, but with Undertale's Genocide run, where... All right, here we are. So with Undertale's Genocide route, it's very like not subtle at all with like you're doing a bad thing. This is bad. And the game is kind of just shit on purpose because genocide isn't exactly fun. So like you're just killing a bunch of things. I'm talking about Undertale. So you're killing a bunch of things. It's not really fun. The game is very ham-fisted and like what you're doing is bad. Like level ups mean like levels of execution and XPs, like execution points or whatever the fuck. I'm just like, okay, I get it. I kind of feel the same way with the Ellie stuff, where a lot of it is Ellie meant to feel like sort of empty inside and like kind of hating this, but she kind of feels like she has to. And the points where it feels really ham-fisted is like when you're like killing Nora or whatever her fucking name was, and he's like, oh, press square to bash her fucking head in. I'm like, okay, I guess. Like, you're not really giving me a choice, but like, I get it. And then towards the end of Ellie's story, or I guess is the end of Ellie's story, when you kill Mel, and then you're like, oh, she was pregnant, you fucking monster. Like, oh my God. So, stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like, it's really not subtle, which is fine. Like, I don't think every story has to be like super subtle or whatever. But I feel like it's trying to make me care way more than I actually do. And it doesn't really help that I really didn't care that much about any of the new characters in Ellie's side. Like, they were fine. Like, Dana and Jesse, they were fine. But I really didn't feel anything when Jesse died. I was just kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks. And that's about it. And Dana, she was just whatever. She felt more like she had to be there as a consequence for Ellie's actions towards the end of the game. But yeah, I just felt like it was like 14 hours of just like going after Abby. You don't even get to her at that point of the game. And then that's it. Like, I like feel sad, I guess. But it doesn't work because I just don't feel that connected to like any of the characters or whatever. But then we get to Abby stuff. Which I actually think is a lot stronger because it's also showing the themes of revenge, but it is a lot more subtle with it because Abby got her revenge on Joel, and she kind of feels good about it, but in the background, all her friends basically hate her now because they're all like traumatized about what happened. And Abby kind of comes into realization of that like towards the end of the game, and especially towards caring for the two Sephiroth kids, you know, towards the middle of her campaign. And that's kind of when the game just feels more like Last of Us, I guess, because I actually really like the two Sephiroth kids, you know, Lev especially. And I think like Abby's sort of journey with them and sort of like coming to terms of being like, I gotta do something good or whatever, because, you know, her learning like the revenge just makes her feel empty and all that shit. And, you know, obviously the whole cycle of revenge would continue if she killed the Sephiroths and all the two Sephiroth kids and shit. You know, I think that just shows the theme better than all the Ellie stuff. But again, I know why the Ellie stuff exists. I just feel like it probably shouldn't be as long as it was.
Yeah. I mean, just to like chime in for a bit here.
Yeah.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. You know, like no one really cares about Dina or Jesse. You know, obviously I like Jesse because, you know, I'm a Asian American and, you know, he's my guy. He's my guy. But I think the reason why they had Dina within the story was to have a visual representation of what Allie's revenge was doing to her, you know, to have that sort of visual be like, Dina's like, you shouldn't be doing this shit. And then when she does, it pushes Dina away and Dina goes off on her own by the end of the game. And Ellie's left with nobody. You know, she didn't get her revenge. She didn't kill Abby, which was apparently one of the obviously versions of the story that Neil Druckmann was going to write in, but he decided not to do it at the end, which I think, you know, people online, and I think I kind of agree with this, is that if he actually did go through with it, I think a lot more people would have been less upset about it, but I could see why he decided not to do it in the end, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, definitely the characters and sort of like the story and how it's all paced out, it's like, it's definitely not as strong as The Last of Us Part 1, which I have been slowly replaying as of late.
Yeah, like I get with the Dina stuff. Like, you know, she was more meant to be like I said, like that consequence of like showing the actions of revenge for Ellie. But I feel like that's all she was at that point. Kind of just more like a plot device than anything, which feels a little bad. And even then, you know, even though I really like the Abby stuff with the Sephiroth kids, because I just really like her interaction with them. You know, Abby isn't a giant stick of the mud the whole campaign, which again I get because Ellie went through a lot of shit. But you know, it's not really that entertaining at the end. You know, Abby just crack a few more jokes and just feels more likable in her story. You know, some of it still falls flat because I still didn't really care about the other wolf people. Like, I didn't really care that much about Mel. Like, Owen's kind of just a big old dumbass too. Like, I really didn't care about him either. So like, it still kind of falls flat on that aspect. And I really just end up caring about Ellie, Abby, and the two Sephiroth kids. Like, in the end, like those are like the four people I actually ended up caring about this whole game. But she just had better sequences too. Like the Rat King fight was super cool. The whole running out of the island was really cool as well.
Running against Tommy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Tommy fight too was cool too. Even like the Ellie fight was cool too, because she like cycles through all her shit. So I think like just her segment just felt way stronger than Ellie's. And then honestly, I kind of do like the finale of the game too, because again, it shows that Ellie still has to like kind of go through this whole revenge plot thing, because she would never feel better about herself or Joel or whatever. And you know, in the end of the game, you know, she learns that, you know, killing her won't really achieve anything. And, you know, it kind of shows a lot of parallels. There's two things. Like, one, that, you know, that's not Ellie. She just killed, like, people like that. And she's kind of realized that towards the end of the game. And two, Abby just reminds her of Joel at that point, because she has the other kid. You know, she has Lev with her and just like, oh, shit, like, I can't do that. And then lets her go. So, you know, it's kind of like that healing process or whatever. So I kind of do like how the game ends, where, you know, she still has to face what she did was wrong, and that's where like Dina left, and she has to basically start over. And I don't think killing Abby would like solved anything. Probably would have made her feel worse than anything. So I think the people saying, "Oh, she should kill Abby," is like I don't think they played the game. Because it's like, yeah, like Abby kind of realized that, you know, killing Joel also probably wasn't like the best idea either, because it basically got all her friends killed too. So, you know, it's just the whole cycle of revenge thing. I think they do illustrate that better in the second half of the game than the first half. But overall, I still think the story is super messy, but I think I end up liking it a bit more than the average person, but it's still like, it still is kind of just a mess. I do give it to them for being really bold with what they did with the story. Because even though the gameplay side of stuff is really safe, like it's very typical Naughty Dog stuff, the story is very like bold what it's trying to do, and as you can see, not everyone agreed with it. And even for me, like I think it was kind of just a mixed bag in general. But I do think like some of the last moments were pretty impactful. You know, I think the sort of like the last flashback sequence with Joel and Ellie, like right at the end of the game, like that was really good, and that made me almost like tear up a bit. Like, it was really good. So yeah, there is some strong points in this, but I could definitely see why it was so controversial. I think it's still a good game, but yeah, it has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I definitely said when I initially first played the game back in 2020 that like I don't know how they would have pasted it differently. Like if we did different segments with Abby in between of Ellie's, but at the same time, now that I think about it, I'm like that wouldn't work either. So I definitely. You probably agree with me on this, is that we probably should have had like less time with Ellie, maybe even a little bit less time with Abby as well, because the game is just so goddamn long for like no particular reason. So I think that if they just cut some things out here and there, maybe sped some things up, which I'm sure that they're gonna do within the HBO sort of adaptation, but you know, for the game itself, it's like it's way too long. There's a lot of things going on here that really don't really consequence or really give us anything of value other than that revenge is bad.
It kind of just goes into that whole thing. And you know, I guess in ways to cut pacing it probably could have just made the game shorter in general, because there was a lot of just like filler gameplay segments where it's like, okay, like the hospital is over there, so we have to walk like and have like a 30-minute gameplay sequence. I'm like, we didn't really have to do that, because most of the time those sequences are just kind of there. So I feel like you could have cut a lot of that filler stuff. And I do like the flashbacks for Ellie, but I think the flashbacks for Abby were kind of just whatever, and you probably could have cut those out.
Yeah.
So I think there were some things you could have trimmed out and just make the game more lean, like a nice 20 hours like the original game, instead of being like, for me, it took me like 28 hours to beat this game. So yeah, it took a while for this type of game. So yeah, I think overall it's still a pretty good game. You know, if you were a fan of The Last of Us Part 1, you probably would like it, but it is really messy, and I hope whatever they do for Last of Us Part 3, hopefully it's just like the end of the series, but I guess we'll see when that comes out. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we can only hope for the best for Naughty Dog.
All right, and last thing I have here is Persona 3 Reload. You know, I've been playing the shit out of this because, you know, Persona. And to be fair, if I don't play the shit out of this, I just won't finish it because it's very long. But yeah, this is a remake of Persona 3, which came out in like 2006. I played the game around like 10 years ago at this point. It's been a while. I played the Fez version, which is like sort of like the enhanced version of the PS2 version, which was still on PS2. But yeah, I think I played that around like 2014 or something, I think. So it's been a while since I played it, but I still like remember a lot of the things. And yeah, this remake is really fucking good. It basically takes a lot of the issues I had with Persona 3 and just makes it as perfect as it could be. You know, they make it way more in line with Persona 5 with its gameplay and sort of like, I guess, like social elements and characters and stuff. And for that, I mean, so like I had two major issues with Persona 3. One is like the gameplay aspect of it, and this is a little more, I could be a little more lenient with it just because, you know, it's older. But in the PS2 version, you couldn't control any of your party members, so you can only control yourself, and your three other party members are controlled by the AI, and that fucking sucked. Because a lot of time they would just not do what you want them to do. Like your healer wouldn't heal you, or the characters wouldn't go for weaknesses, or just keep doing status effects even though it wasn't like effective on the enemy. It was really annoying. In this game, you have full control over your party members, which is really good. And of course, they just add a bunch of new shit. Like you have like this whole limit break system now where you could charge up a bar and do a big super attack, which is fun. It takes all the quality of life stuff from Persona 5, so fusing personas isn't a pain in the ass either. You know, because the old game used the old way of fusing stuff, which is like annoying. So it takes that stuff and makes Tartarus, which is like this giant dungeon that you have to go through the whole game. It's like 250 floors and go through it throughout the whole game. You know, that shit was like really tedious and kind of lame. Like I don't think a lot of people like Tartarus, like the old version of it, but this new version of it is really good. You know, it takes a lot of the improvements that Persona 5 Royal took with Mementos, which is their version of Tartarus, and kind of puts it into this version of the game. So each floor kind of feels a bit different. It's still randomly generated floors and stuff, so you know it still it could get a bit monotonous still, but it definitely looks a lot better, obviously, because it's like, you know, it's remade and shit. But you know, there's more things to do in it now. You got like super bosses you can fight in there now. And yeah, just a lot more fun to traverse now, which is great because Tartarus was a big sticking point in the original game as well. And in terms of like character and stories and stuff, it's like what I said before. I think I mentioned this a few podcasts ago where in the original Persona 3, you couldn't really hang out with any of your male party members because I don't know why. In this game, they don't have social links still, but they have linked episodes now. So they're not part of a social link, but they have like another thing so it's like separate. And it's great. It basically is like having a social link. Like you got a bunch of their backstory, which is stuff we already knew in the original game, but it kind of expand more upon it, and the characters just feel more fleshed out in general, which is great, because that's kind of my main issue with Persona 3's like story, is the fact that I do like some of the party members, but like a lot of them kind of feel very distant from the main character, which is very different from 4 and 5, because those games are very like, friendship is my power and whatever. So like, you get to connect a lot with those party members, and I feel like 3 I never felt that way. There was only like a few that I actually felt like super strongly for. So this game really makes a lot of the party members a lot more likable and just gives them more to do and stuff, which is great. Like there's a lot more little side stuff that you could do with your guys and stuff, and it's great. I really like it. I think that's what Persona 3 was really missing to be like really, really good. And right now, this feels like the definitive version to play this game now. They still don't have the answers, which is sort of like a post game DLC thing, but it's already been like data mined and leaked that's going to come in. So this game has been like so leaked and data mined its whole life that whatever. And so that'll basically be like the definitive version of this game. Like there's still no female protagonist, which kind of sucks, and I don't think they're ever going to add her, but I think as of right now, just like if you want to play Persona 3, play this. It's great. I probably will say more about it once I actually finish it, but yeah, it's fucking great. I really love it.
All right, so I got a huge ass list of things because I've been consuming a lot of content in media.
Yeah,
but
half of it is Daredevil.
Yes, a lot of it is Daredevil, I will admit. But first, I finally finished Alan Wake 2. And pretty much what I said last episode retains here. It's a really solid survival horror game. It's one of the best games released last year. And if I were to have played it last year, definitely would have been somewhere within my top 3, maybe even top 2 games of last year, because it is really that goddamn good. I mean, first off, visually, presentation-wise, I talked about this last time, but it is phenomenal. It looks stellar. The sound design will fuck with your head a lot. The music, the lack of sound is like crazy as well. It's a lot. And then obviously the gameplay stuff. You got the survival horror mechanics there with the managing resources, the gunplay, and obviously the jump scares or whatever, the puzzles. Everything that you would want within a survival horror game is here, and it's all done really, really well. Switching between Alan and Saga, those are the 2 main stories that you'll be following, and you could go at whatever pace you want for them. And switching between the 2 of them is just as easy as going to a save room and then just switching right then and there. And then each of them, the main difference is they're, I guess, like 3D menus, I believe is what Remedy calls them. So it's the mind place for Saga and then the writer's room for Alan. Alan's writer room, you pretty much are able to manipulate the level in real time, which is like really, really cool, because once you enter like a scene, as they call it, you could put different plot elements in there, and then it changes the surrounding area. So maybe like a door that's closed off, when you put a new plot element there, the door is now open and you could explore that area and things like that. It's a lot of fun, and it is very, very scary going through the dark places, Alan, because it is obviously very dark, and you never know when enemies are going to come out and attack you. But playing as Saga is equally just as interesting, because you're trying to figure out how she fits into this story for Alan and sort of what's going on within Bright Falls. And her mind play, she does like sort of clues, like putting those together, interrogating people, things like that, pretty much like FBI agent sort of things. And yeah, I mean, it is well worth the $60. Hopefully I'll have my full review with more clear thoughts on it by the time you guys are watching this. But yeah, it is a really, really solid game, and I cannot honestly recommend it enough. It just sucks that it is locked to whichever sort of marketplace that you want to go on to, so it's probably going to be $60 when you buy it, and you can't really go on to, obviously, like, it's not released physically, so you're just at the whim of whenever those get sales, which I was lucky enough to get it during the holiday sale, which was like, I think it was like 10 or 15% off, I forget. I saved like $10 or something like that. So still really, really good. Cannot recommend it enough. And I still have to play the New Game Plus, which has a new ending. So I don't know what all that stuff is about, but I'm honestly really, really excited to go back into it whenever I can. Then I got the Daredevil stuff. So I've been reading and consuming far too much Daredevil comics. One of them I read is like a complete run, so I'll talk about that last. But the first one I read is Daredevil Yellow. This is a book by Jeff Loeb. He also did Spider-Man Blue. It's a very well-known comic within the Spider-Man community, but it's pretty much like the same vein. Instead of like Peter Parker talking to Gwen Stacy, it's Daredevil talking to Karen Page. Karen Page has unfortunately passed away at the start of this book, and it's sort of Daredevil, I believe, writing letters to her and sort of getting his thoughts on and sort of how how he can become Daredevil once again. It goes into this version Daredevil's backstory, how he met Karen Page, and all that other stuff. So yeah, it's a very, very good read. I highly recommend it, even though Jeff Loeb is a piece of shit. I keep learning more about him because apparently with season 2 of Daredevil, this is like a fucking tangent, but apparently with season 2 of Daredevil, Jeff Loeb, he cut out a lot of stuff involving a Asian character, which would have strengthened the story of that season, because you kind of like don't know what his motives are. He's kind of just back alive and he just fights Daredevil and Elektra. That's pretty much it. But I believe they originally had episodes involving his character and sort of why he came back and sort of all that stuff. But he was the one that was like, nah, cut it out because people don't care about Asian stories. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. So
what the fuck? That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah. So let's just not touch on that. But that's a shitty thing to do. The other thing I have been reading is Daredevil End of Days. I learned about this because I was watching a panel with Charlie Cox, and he was like, yeah, when I got back into the MCU, he was rereading some Daredevil comics, and one of them he said was End of Days, which I've never heard about. But just to like give like a pretty quick synopsis that is not spoilery, pretty much this is about Daredevil's last days. At the start of issue 1, he dies. So not gonna say who kills him, but pretty much you are following Ben Urich, who is a journalist, and he's trying to figure out what happened during Daredevil's final days. Why was he killed? What does this code word mean? And all this other stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very good book. I definitely recommend it to those that have watched the Netflix show because it is very, very different from that, obviously. So, definitely check that out. Then the last thing I've been reading is probably the longest goddamn thing. So I have always wanted to read this. So I went on Marvel Unlimited and I started reading Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky. It's a comic book run that ran from 2019 to 2021. I read it all through Marvel Unlimited, all 36 issues. I signed up for the free trial, which was 7 days. I cannot believe I read 36 issues in 2 weeks, but I did that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a very, very good Daredevil one. It pretty much does a lot of things that the character has not, I guess, faced before, such as just like, obviously, like it starts off the book where he kind of like, he's in a really, really bad spot, obviously. And then it goes into, obviously, his like rogues gallery and sort of the surrounding characters that you'll be familiar with, such as Foggy, Kingpin, Punisher, etc. And then one of the first big arcs is the fact that he killed someone. He accidentally killed someone during a robbery. So, he's obviously like not like the best at like, or like he's not, being as meticulous and as careful as he is. So pretty much throughout this entire run, he's sort of dealing with that trauma and he's trying to figure out how to make amends for those mistakes. And there's other characters within the book, such as Cole North, I believe. He is a brand new police officer that has come into Hell's Kitchen, and he's sort of made it his mission to stop vigilantes. And one of them that he talks to frequently is Daredevil. And he sort of tries to figure out, like, what am I doing against Daredevil that is right or is lawfully right, kind of thing, like, am I supposed to stop him because he's a vigilante, or should I just let him do his thing because he is saving a lot of people? And there's sort of that conflict there, and Spider-Man sometimes shows up, which is like one of the best things about like Marvel comics, just like reading those, is that like Spider-Man could just pop up whenever, because obviously like with the whole movie rights and everything like that, it's sort of like he can't really do that, unfortunately, but it's very awesome to see like just like Spider-Man come in and be like, hey, Daredevil, what the fuck you doing here? Or he's like talking about like the whole vigilante stuff with like other characters such as North and things like that. So yeah, it is very, very good. This is also where I believe Lady Daredevil comes in. That's where Elektra sort of takes on the Daredevil persona, which I won't explain why that happens because that is kind of like a spoiler thing. But yeah, it is very, very good. I cannot recommend it enough. I always hear great things about that run, so I'm very, very happy that I finally read it. Will I read more? I don't know. I think I might tap out on reading comic books, especially Daredevil comic books, for a bit, because obviously I read a shit ton within these past 2 weeks. But moving on from there, Percy Jackson, the Disney Plus series, has finally ended. I only watched this because my girlfriend really likes the book. She read all of them, I believe, and I think she watched the original movies or something like that. But anyways, I'm watching this show, not knowing anything about Percy Jackson. I'm just like, yeah, it's like a tween book that came out maybe a little too late, or maybe I just didn't care enough when it was coming out or whatever. So now that the first season is totally done. It was good. I liked it. It's not something that I would necessarily go out of my way to watch, but because I wouldn't say forced to watch it, but because I did watch it with my girlfriend, it was very, very good. I really do like sort of what they were doing with this story and sort of fleshing everything out compared to how the movie handled it, obviously, because compared to I believe it was 8-episode long season compared to like a 2-hour movie, you're obviously going to get more stuff done here. And yeah, I mean, Percy Jackson doing Percy Jackson things with the, mythology and all this other stuff. He's trying to, do what's right and whatever. So, I can't really talk about this shit because I'm not exactly a huge expert on it, but it was good. It was good. I swear.
Yeah, I've only watched the first movie. I don't know.
Yeah. But moving on from there, I got a few movies. So I finally watched Anyone But You. I was supposed to watch this before the last podcast episode, but when I went there, the fucking projector broke or whatever. So I had to delay that. But finally watched it. It's okay. It's a fine sort of rom-com movie with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I still really like Long Shot with Seth Rogen. That is probably my favorite like modern rom-com movie because it was just a lot of fun and very funny. I mean, this movie obviously is trying to be funny because it is like a romantic comedy, obviously. And I think some of the jokes landed for me, and I think for most of the other people in my theater did not land. Some of the stuff can be a little cringy, I won't lie, when it's supposed to like be funny, if you will. But I think that that's also like the charm of it as well. A lot of people are shitting on this movie, which I can see why, because it's not exactly, the best. And Sydney Sweeney, I guess the jury's still out there if she's still a good actor or not, but I think she did fine. I didn't see anything wrong with her performance. I guess some of the line delivery was kind of dry or whatever, but it's just sort of like dealing with I guess like modern dating culture and sort of how these two characters sort of like each other, but they don't. And, obviously like talking to each other would have solved this movie within 20 minutes. But obviously we just live in that day and age where people just assume shit. So yeah, Anyone But You. It's a fine rom-com movie. If you see it on Netflix, which probably will happen within the next few months, check it out, I guess. Then the next one I watched, or the last thing I've been doing, is Dune. I watched Dune. Shout out to Chris. Chris has been really adamant. He's my coworker and I guess now friend. He's been really adamant about me watching this movie. And I wanted to watch it when it did the re-release on IMAX, but there were no theaters in our area that are doing it. So I bought this 4K during Black Friday, and he was like, yo, man, I got like a 70 inch setup. I got like
holy
surround sound shit. Yeah, man, it was really, really nice. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna watch Dune for the first time, might as well be there. And yeah, it was really, really good. My only problem with it is that it's obviously like a really, really slow burner. Like it is super slow, but it is phenomenal. Like the cast is obviously like goddamn stacked. Like every single character is played by someone that you may or may not have seen within another movie or TV show, etc. Timothée Chalamet is obviously great, fantastic. Zendaya is in the movie, maybe not as strong as she probably is going to be within the next film, but this is like a great, I guess, like sci-fi political thing. I don't exactly know what it's exactly called, but it's great. There are a couple of action sequences because, or comparatively, I guess like some people they compared this movie to like Star Wars because I believe George Lucas took a lot of inspiration from the original Dune book going into Star Wars. So this is pretty much just like Star Wars, but like a lot cooler and a lot more mature, if you will.
Right.
I believe the movie is still rated PG-13, but still.
Oh, it is? I didn't know that. I thought it was R.
I know, right? I thought it was rated R2, but I guess, if you rated PG-13, you're able to get more people in those seats. But yeah, it's a slow burner. There's a lot of character building, so you really have to like pay attention to like what the fuck's going on, or else some of the stuff is just gonna fly over your head. But yeah, very, very good. Cannot wait to see Dune 2 later this month. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been doing. Hopefully next week I'll have a much shorter list of shit I've been doing. But yeah, let's just get into the news. First up we got is the PlayStation State of Play. Before we talk about any particular announcements, Damian, what were your thoughts on the overall presentation?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, one of the things were leaked to shit, so I already knew about one of the big things that was going to be, well, at least to us, that was going to be a big thing for us. But I thought the rest of it was pretty solid. You know, I think a lot of the games they showed, I was pretty interested in general. So things like, you know, like Stellar Blade or Rise of the Ronin and some Dragon's Dogma 2, like it was good to see like updates about them and see how they're cooking and stuff. Because a lot of those games I'm like interested in, but I didn't know if I was going to like pull the trigger or anything. And these recent trailers made me like, okay, I see what they're cooking there. So, yeah, I honestly thought it was a pretty solid state of play. You know, I come into these with very low expectations because they're kind of like not great most of the time. And, you know, they started missing like that wow factor like Nintendo Directs have. But it was pretty solid. It was good updates on games that we knew were coming, but we didn't have like a lot of information on. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I thought that this was a solid state of play, all things considered. You know, obviously, like you said, I am a lot more excited for Rise of Ronin now that we saw that gameplay trailer, because that shit looked awesome and
yeah, it does look really cool
and spectacular. But also just seeing other games on here, like officially getting the Until Dawn announcement, and also seeing a very, very close, in-depth look of, I guess, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, sort of exactly what's going on there with Kojima's brain. But yeah, I honestly really enjoyed this PlayStation State of Play, not just because of the first announcement, which was Sonic X Shadow Generations. Like you said, Damian, this was leaked to shit. Sonic fans are crazy. They will, the moment they get one piece of evidence, they will look everywhere on the internet to look for other stuff. And this game got totally leaked right before this State of Play. And yeah, I mean, it looks awesome. For one thing, I think that this is them also just testing the waters to see if the audience and sort of the player base wants more Shadow content, and obviously why the fuck not. So let's just tack it on to Sonic Generations on here and have Shadow Generations, which is him going through his past and sort of his history. And it just looks great. Like really, really good animations, really, really good graphics. Like it is above and beyond anything I think anyone would have expected for a Shadow Generations kind of DLC piece, if you will.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be more like a Bowser's Fury type situation where, you know, they remastered or remade Sonic Generations or, you know, 3D World, and then they kind of have this extra campaign on the side of it, since this is being advertised as like an extra campaign. I don't think it's going to be as long as Generations or whatever, and, you know, Generations are very kind of short in general, but I'm expecting kind of like one sort of segment of Sonic Generations, if that makes sense. You know how it's like the classic like modern era of Sonic and Generations. It's probably gonna be like one of those, and it'll probably like be Adventure 2, Shadow the Hedgehog, and maybe '06, I guess. Like, and then you could take levels from that. But yeah, just when Shadow showed up and like all the shit was happening, I'm like, yo, why does this look so good? I think people are saying using like the Hedgehog 2 engine or whatever. I don't really know. All I know is it looks really good. It looks better than anything I've seen Sonic's been in for a while. Yeah, because you know, Frontiers is like okay looking, but it's not like that great. This game really looks good, and you know, seeing like Black Doom again in like 2024 like blew my mind. Like when I saw his dumb eye show up, I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's crazy. They even have like the Shadow the Hedgehog logo on the box, which is insane. So you know, I'm not afraid to admit, I'm a big Shadow the Hedgehog fan. I love Shadow. You know, like we both grew up with that era of Sonic anyway. Yeah. So Shadow has always been like super cool to me. Even now, like I don't give a shit. He's cool. So being able to have his own little game again, and just Sega acknowledging he exists after like kind of like 10 years and not really using him too much. It's great, you know, from Sonic Prime to the Sonic movie to this. I'm happy he's getting more of the limelight again. And yeah, I mean, honestly, you can't really fuck up Generation type levels, right? I mean, they could find a way, but I really hope they don't. And just seeing from the really small snippet of gameplay, seeing like his chaos control will teleport be his homing attack, I guess, and you can see him like throw a chaos sphere for like a few seconds there. I'm like, oh, this looks really good. Hopefully they let you do like chaos blast and shit, like just go all the way, right? You won't let him hold a Glock, like that won't happen. But just using his chaos powers, I think that's always a great way to sort of like make him different from Sonic. So yeah, I am definitely very hype. I do want to, you know, temper my expectations a little bit, because I know Sonic Colors Ultimate had a lot of problems. Sonic Origins I know has a lot of problems. So I'm trying to keep them in check, not to be too excited, but it does look really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I honestly would not be surprised if the Sonic Generations part was okay to mid, and then this thing is just like they put all of their money into this
Yeah.
one thing because people are looking forward to it. It does look really really good, and I cannot wait to actually play it. And I'm sure that we're gonna get some levels like you said from Sonic 06, Sonic. Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog, but maybe something from Sonic Heroes. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Obviously, that is part of his history as well. But yeah, I honestly don't see how they could mess this up. I hope they don't mess this up, but yeah, it just looks spectacular, and I cannot wait to actually play it.
I saw some people saying the way they can mess it up is like having the same physics from the cyberspace levels, which yeah, that wouldn't be really great because that was the only time I actually like agreed. Like, I don't think the physics are great there, but Sonic fans are weird because it's just like, oh, I could tell immediately. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't know until I actually play it or until a review comes out. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, either way, I'm excited to have Generations on modern consoles. So because Generations is really good. So
yeah.
But I guess we're going to talk about Rise of Ronin because this was like a game that I'm sure like impressed you from looking at it and me as well. I know they made Neo and some of the other games. Team Ninja, I think, are making this. And I like some of the other games in the past. I'm not that into Soulsborne games, so I wasn't like that into Neo in general. Mm-hmm. But this game looks like it's kind of taking like Ghost of Tsushima, but making it like kind of wacky, and I'm kind of into that. Like you have like pistols and like flamethrowers and shit, and it just kind of looks sick. I didn't really know what to expect from this game. I thought it was just gonna be like an open world. Sort of like Souls-like, I guess, because that's what they were doing in the past. But this really seems more like just an open world, just like have fun type deal, which I'm more into. And yeah, the game just kind of looks crazy. You can fight demons too. I didn't know that was gonna happen. Like I thought, like I definitely thought it was gonna be more, grounded, I guess. But it going more crazy, it definitely gets me more into it. It kind of looks a little ugly, but it looks fun regardless. So that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I love Sucker Punch Productions, and I love what they did with Ghost of Tsushima. So having, I guess, Rise of Ronin now by Team Ninja, and sort of seeing how they're gonna do, I guess, this open world samurai game of theirs, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I've never played a Team Ninja game before. I guess if you want to count Metroid Other M, which was only for like an hour or two.
Yeah.
But this game
it's
looks.
Not their fault.
This game looks awesome. It looks like you said, so much fun. There's a lot of tools and mechanics here, and as I was watching this, I was like, why hasn't Ubisoft made a Assassin's Creed game in feudal Japan or some shit like that? Because obviously people have been asking for that for years and years now, and this looks like it is that. Obviously there's the sort of Souls-like combat system, just because that's just a lot more engaging than just hacking and slashing your way through enemies, which I agree with, even though it may be a little more tedious, a little more frustrating sometimes, but it does give you a much more satisfying gameplay loop by the end of it. So yeah, I mean, will I buy this at launch? I'm not entirely sure. This is going to be a $70 purchase, 100%. But it does look really, really good.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of these games they're coming out like in March, and that's like Final Fantasy time, so I won't be able to touch any of them. I also want to talk about Stellar Blade because they showed I think that was the first one they showed.
Yeah.
And I'm still not too sure about this game because it's obviously heavily inspired by Nier Automata, which I fucking love. Like, I love both of the Nier games a lot. But this feels very like surface level of what Nier is about. Like, oh, big ass lady with like gun and like robots and shit, which is cool. But I feel like the thing that made me like Nier is like more of its like more subtle things that you wouldn't really get until you play the game and stuff. Like, that stuff is cool, surface level stuff. But I feel like the writing and all that stuff, like, it's very like, is what makes Nier. Because I feel like the gameplay side of it is like, it's just whatever most of the time. Like, again, Yoko Taro, the guy who like made Nier, is like, that's what makes those games good. So I'm wondering if that game will have the same amount of like in-depth storytelling and stuff, which I don't know if it will. I mean, just from looking at it, it seems like very like, look at our attractive playable character, which is fine. But it's also just like, I feel like it's kind of missing the point of what made Nier. But again, if it's good, I don't really care, but I guess we'll see. Probably won't be a day one purchase for me either, but it seeing more gameplay of it does make me a bit more excited for it. I kind of just want a new Nier game now though, but we'll see.
All right, so the next game that I have on here is Until Dawn. Like we said, this was, I guess, leaked or sort of talked about before, but now it is officially announced. It is coming to PlayStation 5 and PC, and it is fully remastered. I saw that one screenshot of the remastered, I guess, like, enemy or whatever, and we like see his eyes now, which kind of freaked me the fuck out. But every other remaster to original screenshot does look like that they're going above and beyond to make sure that this game looks and sort of looks up to what the current technology is on the PS5. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I have never played this game, so I definitely want to use this remaster as a reason to check it out.
Yeah, I never played it either. Maybe I'll check it out as well, but I guess we'll see. It depends how expensive it is, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, this is gonna be really quick, dude. The Silent Hill 2 remake looks like ass. Like,
really?
Yeah, like it. I don't know, man. Like something about it just doesn't look great. Like this is a combat trailer for some reason, and I feel like I've never played Silent Hill. All right, let me just get that out there. I never played Silent Hill before, but judging from all the fan reaction, they also really do not like it. Just because I feel like Silent Hill, like it's a weird thing to just show combat for a game that's more about its themes and like Silent Hill is very like sophisticated and shit. And it's shit. Yeah. And some of the Silent Hill fans could be a bit pretentious as well with that stuff, but I do feel like combat's like the last thing you kind of want to show because it's kind of like not the most important part, and then they kind of show it and it just doesn't look very good to me. Like it just feels very not impactful. It feels like someone took Resident Evil 2 remake and put it on the lowest settings too. Like, it just didn't look very good. So hopefully they could iron it out and stuff. It still says in development, even though Blooper Team said, "Oh, we're almost done with this game," and now they're like not. So I don't really know what's going on there, but I wasn't really a big fan of what I saw there. I wanted it to be good because I never played Silent Hill 2 before, but at that point I might as well just play it on an emulator, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the Resident Evil 2 remake, I think that it has sort of caused a lot of these other, I guess, survival horror remakes to sort of copy and paste that kind of. I mean, if you take a screenshot from this trailer and you put it next to Resident Evil 2 remake, you tell someone to ask them, are these two different games? They may say no. They're more likely to say no because, they're both, I guess, like blonde protagonists and, this guy kind of...
like Leon
he does look like Leon kind of. But yeah, from my understanding, I have never also played a Silent Hill game, but from my understanding, Silent Hill, like you said, is very much based on just like you exploring the environment, doing puzzles, sort of figuring out that story. And
it's more like psychological too. Like it's more about like that shit. So
it's not very much about you gunning down enemies and facing all of these different creatures. And it does look like Resident Evil 2 remake. I mean, obviously, like I'm new to the survival horror genre, so I can't really say confidently whether they actually took inspiration from that. But come on, it does look very, very similar. And do I think it looks good? I think it looks fine. I mean, if fans are upset about it, then maybe Bluepoint will, sort of change it up or whatever. But apparently, the game might come out later this year. We're not entirely sure. Obviously, people were expecting a release date for this just because I believe PlayStation earlier this year during like their sizzle reel for games coming out this year, this game was on there. So I'm not entirely sure if that was a whoopsie from PlayStation or what. But hopefully, when the game does finally come out, it does sort of meet expectations of the fans and also just new players in general, because that's pretty much what the Resident Evil 2 remake did. It was like, okay, yeah, like this is like a really, really good remake of the original game, but also it's like a great way to get people into the Resident Evil franchise, such as myself. So
and me, yeah.
hopefully this game is able to deliver on it, because obviously, if fans are not happy with it, then the studio most likely knows.
Yeah. Everything I've seen on like Twitter and Reddit, just like, oh god. So I guess we'll see when it actually comes out. And I guess like the last thing was in the Death Stranding 2 stuff. Holy shit, what the fuck was I watching? That was like the most batshit trailer I've ever seen in my life. Like there was just like a million things happening. Like by the end of it, when the guy is like fighting a robot ninja with an electric guitar, I like lost my mind. I'm like, what is going on? I've never played Death Stranding, but this really makes me want to at this point. And the scary part is like people that played the original game say this made no sense to them either. So that's even more scary. So I don't know what Kojima is cooking, but he's going full in Kojima in this game. So I love to see it. I definitely need to play the first one at some point. This game won't come out till 2025, so I have a bunch of time to do that. But I think this looks insane just from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, this trailer definitely ran a little longer than
It's about long as shit.
Yeah, it was 9 minutes long. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell is happening here? And obviously, we don't know what's going on. Death Stranding players don't know what's going on, but it looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like as I was watching, I was like, wait, do I like Death Stranding now? Like this kind of looks cool. And it was cool enough for my girlfriend to actually go back and actually install it on her PS5 and play it herself. And yeah, I mean, Death Stranding is a Hideo Kojima project, so you really don't know what it's about or sort of what's going on until you actually dive into it and play it. That's just my opinion anyways. But yeah, I mean, the trailer looked dope. Hopefully I'll have the time to actually play Death Stranding 1 before this new one comes out, because every single goddamn Kojima game is just especially long, especially this one, I should say. But yeah.
Yeah, Death Stranding is like pretty long. I think it's like 40-ish hours or something. So, yeah.
Especially for a story-driven project, Jesus.
Yeah, and like those like 3-hour cutscenes and shit or whatever. So, get ready for that. All right, but next, after that state of play, they would like tune in next week for a Final Fantasy VII and Rebirth state of play, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like Final Fantasy VII, so I watched it, and yeah, dude, the game looks fucking great. I wasn't gonna watch it originally just because I was afraid like they might show too much. And they do, but at the end of the day, I don't care. It's just like I know what's kind of going on. So yeah, the first trailer, it was like a story trailer, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. And it's kind of like my biggest concern of the game is the story. Like they could easily mess this up and be like it's like a giant mess. Because 7 Remake was really close to like kind of being a mess, but I think they brought it in a bit. So hopefully 7 Rebirth isn't too crazy with its twists and shit, because that's kind of the point. It's not a remake. Like it kind of is, but also it isn't. It's kind of its own thing. So just always look at it like that. Like it's like a pseudo sequel. Like I definitely now at this point would recommend playing the original 7 and then playing 7 Remake and then this. Definitely play 7 Remake at least if you want to play this. But either way, the next thing to show was like a bunch of gameplay stuff, and it looks great. There's like so many different mini games and bosses and all this shit. The world looks gigantic. I honestly, I'm just shocked at the amount of mini games and how quality they look. Mini games have always been a thing in Final Fantasy games, and people always like them. But this is getting like Yakuza levels of like this is like a crazy amount of like mini games that all look like really interesting. It looks like there's like a new thing we could bond with your teammates for like the sort of like the gold saucer date thing, which is like a whole thing in the main game, which looks cool. What else they added? Just crazy amount of shit. It's just like a lot. Also, the game just looks really good. Like I always said, I think Ratchet is still probably one of the best looking PS5 games. I know there's not like a lot to choose from, but I think Ratchet is like definitely my just the best looking PS5 game I've still seen. I think this game is gonna beat that, just how like vibrant it is, like how colorful it is, how good it looks like it's running on PS5. It just looks great. Just everything I've been seeing. I really appreciate more I guess like realistic games like Last of Us and stuff like that, because you get things like facial animations and more like realistic grounded stuff. But I think graphics really shine the most when you do crazier shit. So when you have like giant dragons and shit, or like Ratchet, which looks like a Pixar movie, right? I feel like for me, that's where graphics really like stand out more, just because like it just like stuff you can't really imagine, right? So yeah, graphics wise, it looks great. The music is great. There's like 400 fucking tracks in this game, which is insane. Yeah, it just looks really good. There's a demo now for the sort of the first story segment of the game, and then on the 21st, they're gonna update the demo to sort of give you like a little taste of the open world stuff. I probably won't try it until like probably closer to release. Usually when they release demos of games I'm gonna play anyway, I kind of just wait the day before, so act like an early access type deal. And I'm going to buy the game anyway, so I don't really see a point in like kind of spoiling myself right now. So, but yeah, it's great for people that want to really try out this game. The combat, they barely talked about the combat, but it's still the same like the first game, which is great, because I said this many times. I think 7 Remake's combat's like one of my favorite sort of action JRPG combats like ever. I really do enjoy it a lot. And they're adding the whole synergy mechanic from the Remake DLC, where you can have like another party member help you do like a special move or whatever. It looks like there's gonna be a bunch more of them now with all the different character combinations. So that looks really cool as well. So yeah, I'm just very excited for this game. It's gonna be very long, but I'm really down for it. Any other game coming out in March is gonna have to make some room for this game. I do want to play the Peach game where I have it pre-ordered and shit, but this game's gonna take up a lot of my fucking time. It's also kind of why I really need to get through Persona 3 pretty quickly before this game comes out, because I can't be having 2 gigantic RPGs in front of me. That's too much. So yeah, I'm very excited for it. If you're not sold on Rebirth yet, definitely give this a watch. It looks really good.
All right, so we will move on from there and get into some other little pieces of news. So first up, we got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. We got a Goku versus Vegeta Rivals trailer, pretty much revealing that whatever you see within this trailer from Goku and Vegeta, their transformations, they will be in the game as their own separate characters. Obviously, you could transform into them and sort of become that version of Goku, Vegeta, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it looks like, probably the best looking Dragon Ball Z game ever, and also just the best Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi game also, just because it's been over 10 years since we've got the last one, and I'm so glad that it looks so faithful to the original concept and sort of those original games, because obviously I think Bandai Namco knows that people have a lot of nostalgia within this franchise, and they are excited for this, and I'm glad that, what we have here, it looks good.
The game looks really good. I'm very excited for this. It's doing all the things that Budokai Tenkaichi 3 did, where mid fight transformations. Obviously, Vegeta could become his Great Ape form mid battle, which is also cool, because that was a big thing in the original game, was these big monster characters you could play as. I think graphically the game just looks really good. I think the cell shading looks super nice. And there's going to be just a shit ton of characters. And it's really funny on Twitter when it's the first 24 characters, which is all variants of Goku and Vegeta.
Yep.
And it's just we're so fucking back, because we are so fucking back. I can't wait to play Goku mid, bro.
Yes.
Use angry Kamehameha. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be very faithful to the original series while adding hopefully some cool new things. Obviously super characters are given and stuff. And I'm very excited to see how they do sort of the story mode and stuff, because I think Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had some really cool stuff where you're able to experience some Dragon Ball stuff, all Dragon Ball Z, some GT stuff, some what if scenarios, which was really cool. So I'm hoping they kind of put the same amount of attention to the single player content as well, because I feel with arena fighters like this, you kind of have to, because no one's gonna play this competitively, right? Who gives a shit? You're more into it to have that fantasy of playing Dragon Ball or whatever, because Krillin should be able to just get one tap by Omega Shenron. That's just kind of how that works. So hopefully they this throw balance out the window and just focus on just making this a really fun Dragon Ball game. And I think that's what the Tenkaichi series, or just the Bukai series, has always been good at. So really excited for this. There's no release date or anything, so this still seems like a pretty far way out. It could even be next year at this point, but either way, I am very excited for this game. It's turning out it's looking pretty good.
Yeah. I believe there was an interview or some tweet that I saw, but unfortunately there won't be, I believe, local co-op. So you can't do split screen, because
that's a little lame.
Yeah, it does suck. I think it was because of the architecture between the Xbox and the PlayStation 5. There was just no way for them to physically do it. I'm assuming it's because they want to keep the game at 60 frames and shit like that. Right. So if they were to do split screen, they might have to chop it down to 30, and then it's not going to look as good. So, we're not going to have those, I guess, nostalgic moments of playing split screen on one console, but obviously the online play is going to be there. So that should be fun and exciting. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to this game. I understand that there are obviously limitations, even though newer consoles are supposed to be bigger and better. There are some things that unfortunately are going to lose on the wayside, if you will.
Yep, that's pretty unfortunate. That does kind of suck, but hopefully they have some good alternatives instead. All right, so next we have finally some Spider-Man 2 news on New Game Plus. So this is coming out March 7th, so pretty late. I think I saw on X that they wanted to get it out sooner, but I guess it's better than never. And it's supposed to include some new suits and some other stuff as well. So apparently adds highly requested features. So I'm assuming they're gonna add you could switch day or night now, and maybe some other stuff with some spoilery stuff that I'm not going to say. They could change colors of certain stuff. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, hopefully all that stuff will be added and it'll be all nice and good. It was really crazy seeing the switch up Twitters done on this game in general. Because I just dude, what happened? I mean, it seems like it's mostly just Twitter and stuff, because everyone else sees, oh yeah, it was a good game, and then on Twitter it's like you think it killed their parents or whatever. So I do think the third act could have been better, but I still think the game was really good. I still think it was better than the first game. Just gameplay alone, I think it was really fun. Do I agree with every decision? Especially with some of the costume changes at the end? Not really, but I still think it was a great game and a good follow up, and I am still really excited for Spider-Man 3. I do think this update is coming out a bit late, but if it means not crunching or whatever, then that's fine by me. Honestly, it gives it, if they added New Game Plus from the start, I probably would have not done it anyway. So them adding it later, I'm like, okay, I'll check it out now. So
yeah,
that's there.
Before I touch on what you were just rambling about, but first, I mean, it is exciting to see that we are finally getting New Game Plus. It is obviously kind of late, but you know what? It is what it is. Insomniac Games have been obviously going through a lot as of late.
Yeah.
So, you know what? They could take their time with this New Game Plus update. And they obviously want to make sure that it works and it all functions properly, unlike when they launched Marvel Spider-Man 2 and there were bugs and glitches and all this other stuff. And I think that at the core of the game, it is still a great game. Like, it is still a lot of fun. The story obviously has some issues, and I think it's not because of Insomniac Games. I think that there was a interview with Brian Indahar. I forget exactly where it came from, but I believe he had like a talk with Sony, and like there were certain things that they had to change for the game to work for it to come out in October, because that's when Sony wanted it. So obviously, like, with certain things that happen within the story and it not being as paced well and all this other stuff, like, it is understandable for certain things to not be the way that I think a lot of people would have liked them to be. But also at the same time, like, this is a new interpretation of the Spider-Man character, the Spider-Man mythos. And I think that what they did, everything considered, with, Sony sort of breathing down their neck and being like, you need to go and get this stuff done by this date. That's it. And, they were kind of just like, our hands are tied. Well, we got to like get this done in this way to sort of get around what other story beats they wanted to hit. But yeah, I mean, I think that Marvel Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man fans hate Spider-Man the most. And I think that them sort of overanalyzing and over criticizing Spider-Man is just the fact that they've consumed a lot of Spider-Man media and they want sort of this version of Spider-Man to meet what they view as a quote unquote Spider-Man story, which, it is what it is. I think that, excuse me, they did what they could. And I think that it is completely fine for what it is. I wish that certain things have changed, spoilery wise, but I'm not going to talk about that exactly. But, Spider-Man 2 is still a great game. I was actually just playing it recently, so I could actually 100% it. I have yet to go and get the Platinum Trophy. There's a few things that I need to do, but my entire map's cleared now. It's now 100% cleared. I just have to do whatever trophies are left.
Yeah. Again, it must have just goes to the thing where it's like, I sort of like the people that hate the thing the most are the people that actually like the thing, which I get because, they consume the most of its media and stuff. Like, this is not my first rodeo with things like this. Like, there's a lot of other fandoms that also, like, Sonic is a big one as well. Dude, like, they were going over like Sonic Dream Team's muzzle.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Right? I'm like, bro, shut up. But either way, like, as I get older, you start to care less, but I'm still like, you're an idiot. But
yeah,
like, it's fine to criticize stuff, but sometimes I'm just like, you guys place way too much emphasis on some stuff, Same with Persona and SMT fans, Fire Emblem fans, like, everything is just kind of like, if you like it a lot, then you're gonna like be annoying about it, but it's just kind of how it is. But either way, again, we're not saying Spider-Man 2 is perfect, there's obviously issues with it, but still, some people kind of overreact, but I'll leave it at that.
Exactly. All right, so now we got some Sonic news. First up, this dropped literally today. We got the Knuckles series Paramount Plus trailer. We finally get a look at what the Knuckles series has in store for us. This was supposed to come out late last year, but we didn't hear anything about it. So obviously now it is coming out in April. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It pretty much looks like the movies, which is like something that I think a lot of people were concerned with. It's like, well, it's gonna be on Paramount Plus. Is like the budget? Is it gonna look as good and all this other stuff? How much of the cast is gonna return? And yeah, I mean, it looks like everyone's here and accounted for. It's just gonna be a Knuckles focused story. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that. I think that with the Sonic 2 movie, it really did revive Knuckles as a character, and people really do like his sort of goofy nature within these movies in particular. So I cannot wait to see what kind of shenanigans he gets into here.
Yeah, same. I really enjoyed the interpretation of Knuckles in like sort of like this continuity, I guess. He's more like just like this warrior type, and he always kind of is, but not portrayed like this. It's kind of like Starfire, I guess, from Teen Titans kind of way, where he doesn't really know what he's doing and stuff. And I always think that's a fun sort of like character moment for him. They even brought his little hat from the OVA, which is cool. Yeah. Kind of shows that, the people making this do like Sonic quite a bit, the big old nerds as well. So, and like you said, the sort of the CG looks just as good as the movies, which is great. Because you never know what you're gonna get in terms of CG with these TV show type things. I know like the Megamind series, like it was on Twitter and stuff, where that looks like shit, because that was also a Paramount Plus thing. So people were like, "Would this look like ass?" And it doesn't. It looks really good. And I'm always impressed when things like that happens, because that has to cost a lot of money, especially for like a series and stuff. So when that CGI character is sort of the main character, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of money, because Knuckles is gonna be in it quite a bit. So kind of cool that we're able to keep his look like pretty good. So I'm pretty interested to see how they go. And I also hope this kind of sort of sets expectations for Sonic 3, because I know people really want. We're gonna talk about it, but people really want certain things to happen, and I think they will. But you still gotta remember, like these are still goofy movies, right? And this trailer is a goofy trailer. Like, so just keep that in mind. So
yeah, this is definitely gonna be a lot of fun. The people making this are obviously pulling from different things within Sonic Media to make this Knuckles series his own. And yeah, I will definitely be subscribing to Paramount Plus for the 7-day free trial, and then that is it for me. But yeah, I cannot wait to watch the entire series when all the episodes drop on April 26th.
Yes, sir. All right, so yeah, like we said, we have more Sonic stuff. So Jim Carrey is going to be coming back for Sonic 3. I think he said the last one was his last one, but I don't know. This one is his last one. I think he doesn't like doing sequels either way.
Yeah.
But it seems like he really likes Dr. Eggman, and he's great as Dr. Eggman, so I'll take it. I thought his performance in both movies were great. He was really unhinged in Sonic 2. Like, he was just a weirdo. And I love that for him. So, at first I wasn't sure about the casting when it was Sonic 1, but I was really sold by Sonic 2. I'm just like, yeah, he's honestly great as Eggman. I really do enjoy it. So seeing him in Sonic 3 is going to be great. Like we said before, like it's going to be a whole different, this is going to go more into the adventure stuff. So I wonder if his performance is going to be as wacky and stuff, or is going to be a bit more grounded. I guess we'll see when Sonic 3 comes out. I'm kind of just waiting for like a trailer for Sonic 3 at this point to really see where the expectations of it should lie.
Yeah.
Because people are going kind of insane right now for what's going to happen, So,
yeah. Just Jim Carrey coming back for Sonic 3, I think that is awesome, fantastic. I think a lot of people, including myself, were not expecting him to return because, like Damian said, Sonic 2 was supposed to be his last film movie. Like, he wasn't supposed to do another Sonic movie after that. And on top of that, he's not a big fan of sequels either. So the fact that he's coming back for Sonic for a second time for Sonic 3, hell yeah. I cannot,
that's my goat.
I cannot wait to see what he does, because that must mean the script and what they have for him to do within Sonic 3 is going to be a lot of fun. Like you said, he was fantastic within Sonic 2. And honestly, I kind of did like how he portrayed Dr. Eggman within Sonic 1 as well, and he obviously loves this character, so I cannot wait to see what they give him within Sonic 3. And then obviously some other castings have been announced as well on this same day. We got Kristen Ritter, who is rumored to play Rouge the Bat. And then we also have Alayla Brown, who is maybe going to be Maria. And then a couple of other actors and actresses, which I will terribly butcher their names, so I'm not gonna try my best here, but you could look up the IGN article on the Sonic 3 castings to see the full details. But yeah, I mean, I cannot wait to see who these characters are and who they're exactly going to play. I think that Kristen Ritter and Alayla Brown are definitely going to lock in those two characters in particular, and it looks like they're going to go fucking all out with this Sonic 3 movie. They're actually going to adapt Sonic Adventure 2 to a certain extent. Is Maria going to get shot? I mean, fuck yeah, give us that. Give us that moment. Give us that moment. Sonic fans, it is very funny to see the Sonic community, including us, just be like so excited to see that happen, because that is such a core part of Shadow's backstory and sort of why he is the way he is. So I think for them to take that away and not even do it would definitely be a disservice. But obviously they know the goddamn source material, so we're gonna have to go and get a young girl, and unfortunately she's gonna have to die. So but yeah, I cannot wait to see what this movie is going to be shaping up. And obviously, you said the first trailer is all we're really asking for. I'm sure the next thing they're going to announce is who's voicing Shadow, which we don't know who it is just yet, but I'm sure whoever it is, hopefully they deliver.
Yeah. So, but again, like I said, keep in mind, these movies are still pretty goofy. So I don't know how, they can do a really hard pivot to be super edgy and stuff. That'd be funny though. But we'll see. I do want a kid to get shot. That's kind of just how it's got to be. I mean, I told my brother it's either that or she's like really ill and she's gonna die that way. But I feel that doesn't have the same impact as a gun soldier killing her. So, and Gun is already established in this continuity. So
yeah.
we'll see what they do. I'm very, very interested to see how they handle the shadow stuff. Is Black Doom gonna be there? Is just Gerald Robotnik? I don't know. So it's gonna be interesting. I am very excited to see how they end up adapting Sonic Adventure 2. So.
Yeah, and I believe aside from this stuff, I believe the lead singer of Crush 40 has been. He does not give a fuck. He's like, yeah, Live and Learn is gonna be in the movie. We don't know exactly to what capacity or whatever, but it's gonna be in there. And I think that is like a huge thing for Sonic fans is obviously the music and that song in particular. If you're gonna make a Sonic Adventure 2 adaptation, that song has to be in there. And I honestly can't blame them. And I'm glad that they're taking the routes to make sure that what this Sonic 3 movie is gonna be is probably gonna be the biggest one yet.
I just need Live and Learn. I don't need, and I don't want it to be an Easter egg. Like I want it to be like literally when they're fighting like Final Hazard. Like I want to hear fucking Live and Learn, please, for the love of God. All right, so last bit of news. We got some Disney stuff. So yeah, Disney and Epic Games have entered a collaboration in games and entertainment. So Disney now has a 1.5 billion equity stake in Epic, so they kind of own, I think it's like 10% of Epic now or something like that.
That's crazy that's only 10.
Yeah, because Tencent has 40%. Obviously Tim Sweeney, which is like the owner of Epic, has 51% because he has to be the majority stakeholder, and then some other percent for some random other shit. So yeah, so they own 10%. Honestly, this collaboration makes a lot of sense because Disney has been partnering with Epic for like a while now. I think like sort of the first crossover skins for Fortnite were like Marvel and Star Wars skins. So it makes sense that they've already been buddy for a while. So this seems like the next step. Now, what this is, I have no idea. It looks like they're just making Disney World in Fortnite, which is cool, I guess. I mean, I could do that in real life if I wanted to. I know for most people that's not like a luxury, but it is really cool. They have like this whole little like concept art where it shows like different islands with different stuff going on. So you have like sort of like the like a looking Lilo and Stitch looking area. You got like a sort of a main city area. It looks like it's going crazy. So apparently this also opens up for like Sora. Sora could be in Fortnite. It says somewhere here, and that's the only thing people were caring about. It's like, hell yeah, let Sora hoard a gat. Let's go. So I mean, I guess it's kind of cool. I mean, when most of these acquisitions and mergers, now we gotta be a little more careful because of all the Microsoft stuff we're going to talk about. But I feel like Disney was already really buddy with Epic, where this is kind of just like, it kind of just makes sense. So and with Epic kind of going with this weird metaverse sort of thing with Fortnite, it kind of just makes sense, right? So
yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, 1.5 billion is fucking crazy. It's just
money.
It just makes me wonder, like, how much money do they actually have, and how are they even able to like? How are they even able to just like lay off, employees and shit like that when they have to or when they feel like they have to or whatever. So, but just going back to this collaboration in particular, I mean, it is insane just to see what exactly they're going to cook up here. What are they going to use from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and Avatar in Fortnite? I believe it was already confirmed that Avatar skins are in the works for Fortnite. Yeah. So I think that's going to be the next thing that they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Disney, they're like, well, we suck at making video games, I guess. So we'll just partner with Epic and then we'll just have them do it because Fortnite's already like making millions and millions of dollars day by day. So why not just partner with them and then just have them use our stuff to make money for us? So, but yeah, it is going to be a crazy, crazy collaboration. I wonder how this is going to affect Fortnite and other things Epic Games wants to do within the next year or so.
The only thing I really hope for is that they really just unvault Battle Pass skins, because I feel like they wouldn't show Darth Vader and Deadpool so prominently if you weren't able to buy them now. So I really hope they do. I know people are gonna get pissy about it, but I don't care. Like I think Battle Pass skins should just be in the shop after like a year or something, because it kind of sucks that since I wasn't that into Fortnite before because of build and stuff, like I just could never get Spider-Man, right? So it's cool. And yeah, he's like, oh, you could get Miles though, which is cool. I do like Miles, but I mostly just want Spider-Man for his accessories. Like I want his web glider and shit because it matches all the other Spider people. And it sucks that I could just never get that again. So I really hope Disney is just like, yeah, just put that shit on sale. I feel like they wouldn't show Darth Vader and Deadpool, which were both Battle Pass skins, like right in your face if that wasn't a thing they're gonna plan on doing. So that's my big thing. I'm like, I want those skins. So please.
Gotta do Fortnite skins, but yeah, I mean, I could see that argument. That's like a whole other topic with the the Fortnite community being like the battle pass skins should be purchasable at some point, which I do agree with. Just because I'm one of the many lucky people to have the Spider-Man skin, because that's the one Fortnite season, the first Fortnite season that I just grinded out by myself. I was literally just playing by myself, just trying to grind out the battle pass just so I could get Spider-Man. And once I got him, I was like, all right, cool. And I think it's the same thing with Spider-Verse Gwen Stacy as well.
Yeah, I want Gwen Stacy too.
She is also locked to the battle pass, so I wonder if they're gonna slowly get those skins out of there and sort of put them on the store, because I believe the Jujutsu Kaisen Itadori skin, I believe that was locked to like some sort of pass as well. I think that's gonna be, or that is already on the shop or whatever, so it can happen. It's just a matter of if Epic Games wants to do that. Obviously, like people who have had the battle pass, you've had that skin for like however many months, years, whatever. So you shouldn't feel gypped out or whatever just because you grinded it out. Because I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you paid less for that skin comparatively when they're going to put it on the shop.
That's what I'm saying. Like a battle pass is like $10 and you're getting like a shit ton of value anyway. And if they put it on the shop, I pay like $20 for one skin. So I feel like that's fair enough, right? Like I don't really care. Like I guess it would matter more if Fortnite had a. This is really off topic. But
no, keep going.
I feel like this would make more sense if this was something like a game with trading, right? Like if you could trade skins and shit, because there's like an economy and stuff. But it isn't. You just own it, and you're just being like a weirdo for being like, I don't want people to have this skin. I just why? Who cares? Let just people have this skin. Like if this was like TF2 and like you could only get this one unusual hat in this one crate, and if you miss it, that's it. Then yeah, I get it, because you don't want to flood the market and then mess up people's like actual money. But for this, it doesn't matter. There is no in-game economy. You can't trade skins, so who cares? But whatever. I digress.
I mean, it all makes sense. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the last bit of news, which seems to be Microsoft's downfall? ? I mean, we're gonna try to play devil's advocate here and try to be on Microsoft's side for a bit and sort of see where they're coming from. But just to lay everything out here, guys. So first up, we got Microsoft weighing on whether or not they should launch Indiana Jones on PS5 a few months after the Xbox launch. And on top of that, apparently Starfield might be coming to PS5, and I think it is kind of somewhat semi-confirmed that Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves are coming to other platforms. And last but not least, Toys for Bob and Sledgehammer were impacted by the Microsoft/Blizzard and Activision layoff. So let's just go one by one, sort of see where Xbox is at the moment and what the hell are they doing. Are they actually going to go multi-platform? Are they going to let their games run wild across other platforms? What do you think, Damian?
I mean, at this point, I think so, because Microsoft has been in like a losing position for at least 10 years now. I think that Xbox One E3 announcement was probably one of the worst E3s they would ever have. And Phil Spencer has already been on record saying that's like one of the worst generations to lose, because a lot of people started building up their digital library at that point. So a lot of people got really attached to like PlayStation at that point because they were just buying a bunch of games on the PS4, and now that architecture is being used for like PS5 and the future, right? So Xbox kind of lost a lot of that during that moment, and it was just a really awful generation to lose, and they've never really recouped from that. They've never really been focused on making better first party games. The newer Halos that came out have always been kind of okay. New Gears games come out, but no one really cares that much. And besides that, they kind of just buy studios. They keep buying studios over and over again. And obviously the biggest one was the Blizzard, the Activision Blizzard stuff. And it just hasn't been working out for them. They haven't really been producing that many games. A lot of games they produce are cool. Like, things like Psychonauts 2 and Hi-Fi Rush, I think are fucking great games, right? But they're not system sellers, right? Like, yeah, I'm smart enough to agree. Like, yeah, those games are not going to sell any consoles. They're cool for me. Like, I love them, but like, they need something big. And I think the sort of like the last draw, and probably what Microsoft was getting mad at, was Starfield. I don't think Starfield performed as well as it should have, just from like the bad word of mouth. People not liking the game, the game just seeming to not have as long legs as other Bethesda games. Like, people are like really harsh on it. I think that was also a big aspect in being like, okay, we gotta like start downsizing this shit. And obviously that came in the form of the Activision Blizzard layoffs, which laid off like 1,900 people or something crazy like that. And obviously a lot of people were affected. Blizzard especially, like Blizzard, like a lot of the Overwatch 2 team got gutted. Obviously that survival game they were making got completely canned, which is insane. A lot of their support studios got gutted as well, which, of course, Toys for Bob and Sledgehammer and stuff. So, yeah, it kind of sucks that I believe all this happens because I think Microsoft wanted return on investments way sooner than Xbox was like, hey, like this stuff takes time. Making games takes like at least 5 years, and Microsoft is probably sick of losing a shit ton of money, so they're just like, you know what, fuck it, start actioning this shit. Like we're done with it. And now it looks like they might just go third party, and I don't even know if they're gonna have another system. Like there's rumors that there are gonna be at least one more Xbox that's gonna be fully digital. But at that point, it's like, why even invest in the Xbox ecosystem when it looks like it's about to go Sega, right? Like they're about to completely go third party at this point and just put all their major IPs on other consoles and stuff. And there's more leaks. There's leaks everywhere that GameStop was showing. It says Microsoft Game Pass instead of Xbox Game Pass. So it seems like they're rebranding to be like more of a third party type deal rather than just Xbox at this point. So but yeah, what do you think about all that? Because I don't think this is good for some reasons. So I'll go into that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these leaks aren't necessarily, they aren't necessarily data mined either. So I think that we're okay to be talking about these, right? I think.
Yeah. I mean, that Microsoft thing was like GameStop just showed it.
GameStop.
So yeah. So hardly a leak. Yeah.
So, what's it called? Xbox, like you said, that moment within E3 where they were like, no used games on the Xbox One. You always need the connected. If you want to play games offline, we have that. It's called the Xbox 360. All that shit that happened during that single E3 year was pretty much PlayStation's chance to just skyrocket, even up until today, where people still want a PS5 over the Xbox Series X/S. Because it's like, why would I get a console that doesn't have any exclusive games? Why would I get this box when this box has Spider-Man, has God of War, has all of these other games? And sure, you can argue that some of those are on PC now. But even then, it's like, okay, well, if you want it on console, you got to get a PlayStation, like without a doubt. So for Xbox to now just, sort of weigh in and sort of be like, should we put Indiana Jones on PS5? Should we put Starfield on PS5? And, these, I guess, like other smaller titles like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. I don't think Sea of Thieves is small. But anyways, just like putting these other titles on multi-platform is like, should we do this? Should we have these titles live on there so we can at least recoup some extra money from there? I think, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? Microsoft have not been wanting to win the console wars for a long time. Like, they have been very consumer friendly. They've been very much been like buddies with everyone, making sure that everyone is able to play their games as much as possible. So I don't see why it's a bad thing for them to do this. Obviously, it sucks. I wish that Xbox was as big as a competitor as they are with PlayStation as they were back then. And competition's good. Competition means that PlayStation has to sort of innovate and sort of reinvent their way of doing things. And for Microsoft to just be like, fuck it, we surrender, whatever, you know what, we're just going to put everything on PS5 now at a certain point because we don't care anymore. It's like, like that sucks. I think it's good for the consumer, obviously, because now they're able to play the games on pretty much anything and everything. But at the same time, it's like at a certain point, PlayStation is already like complacent as is. Like they're going to get even more complacent with how they're doing. And we're not going to see, really great, like innovative things within, I guess, like the console space. It's going to be more or less the same stuff in the future. That's just my theory. I'm not going to say that that's going to happen for sure. But if Microsoft's going to fully pull out of like the console game, then it's like, all right, they're competing with fucking Nintendo. And Nintendo, I like Nintendo, but they've never been concerned about like what the other companies are doing.
Yeah, Nintendo's always been its own thing. Like, they share an ecosystem, but I feel like most people that have a Nintendo console also have one of the other two consoles or a PC, that they kind of live together pretty well. So yeah, Nintendo, they're a competitor because they sell video games, but they've never been like too neck and neck. It's mostly PlayStation and Xbox fighting each other, and I feel like we're out Microsoft there in like that physical sort of box space, like that console space. Like, I feel like Sony could do whatever they want, right? Like, they could start charging $100 for games, which is it's something they want to do. And they could do that, like, uncontested, because Xbox has always been very consumer friendly, especially recently. It's like, Game Pass, Day One, all this other stuff. And without any of that stuff in their way, Sony could just be like, yeah, well, why not pay $100 for a new AAA game? And that's like insane. Again, we're not saying this is going to happen, but it's definitely like a slope that could happen, right? Like these are things that could happen without no competition. And we just don't know for sure. Like Phil Spencer already said, like, wait until next week. We will announce everything we're doing.
Yeah.
But it really isn't looking good. Like a lot of the Xbox people are just not happy because the Series X is basically just a paperweight at this point. And I just feel like it's not helpful for the gaming industry as a whole to like have only two people, especially only having one high-end console developer, right? Like just having Sony is like, I don't know, I don't feel great. Even though I like PlayStation, like I'm always gonna buy a PlayStation console, I don't feel good about that. I feel like we need a third person, especially in that higher end gaming market. And I don't know if that means someone else is gonna step up. I don't know if it means Sony's just gonna have the reins now. Like, you know, I could see like people like Apple maybe want to make their own console at this point, but they might sell it for like $3,000 because that's just how Apple is. So I guess we'll see. Again, this is a lot of like speculation at the moment and a lot of doom and gloom because, you know, we're just going from information we have at the moment. But I'm going to wait until next week, or I guess next podcast, where we'll talk about it, what the actual plan is, because it's pretty bad. Like a lot of insiders are straight up saying like this is like not good at the moment. Like again, even just reconsidering Indiana Jones, where they're just like being like, yeah, this is gonna be on Xbox stuff. Why not? Now they're just like, we don't fucking know. Like this is might be on PS5 now. You know, it's not great. Even when they asked Arcane, like when the Blade game came out, was just like, hey, is this gonna be an Xbox exclusive? And like, oh, we don't know. And at first I'm like, okay, they know. Of course it's gonna be Xbox exclusive. Why wouldn't it be? But now I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't know. Maybe the shit was already like, yeah, they legit did not know if it was gonna be just on Xbox. So I just feel like, you know, I think we were a bit positive on the Xbox on the acquisition for Blizzard and Activision, but now seeing it in hindsight, I'm just like, all right, maybe that wasn't a good idea. I feel like nothing good has come out of that. Like so many people have lost their jobs. Like nothing really good has come out of it, like at all. Like I guess they have some support from Microsoft, but then when you're axing like 60% of your whole workforce or whatever, like that's just like terrible. So yeah, right now nothing good has been coming out of like all these acquisitions, and it's just been like downsizing so much just to make more profit. And you know, I think we're gonna see even more of these games where it's just like they make a game that's bare bones, and then we add a bunch of microtransactions because that's how they make the most money, right? So I don't know. It's been kind of a mess, and it's not great.
Yeah, it definitely sucks, especially for us as platformer fans. You know, Toys for Bob, I would have wished to have seen more of Spyro and Crash, but...
All right, keep in mind, they're not dead fully.
Yeah, they're not just dead. It's just those studios.
Yeah, it hurts them a lot, and I don't know if they are going to like be alive for much longer, but their offices have closed, but there still are a thing. Like they're just working remotely apparently. So I've been seeing a lot of people saying they're straight up dead, which is not true. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there. It still sucks though, because you know I loved Crash 4. Like I thought Crash 4 was great. You know, I think they did the Spyro Reignited. I think yeah they did Reignited trilogy. So like all their stuff has been great. So it sucks that it kind of like hit really hard from these. So but yeah, hopefully the bleeding stops, but I don't know if it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, especially after that Crash multiplayer game, you know, not all of you want that one, you know, for good reason, but yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly what Phil Spencer and the rest of the Xbox and Microsoft team have to say about the future of their gaming division, because you know it is not looking good. Do I want this stuff to go on PlayStation 5? Sure, at some point, maybe like a year later, but not like a few months later. I feel like a few months, like most people can wait on that, and then I'm sure that Microsoft will see like the sales projections between the Xbox Series X/S versus the PlayStation 5, and you know if it's more on PS5, then it's like now it's actually fucking over. But yeah, I think that them porting Starfield, I've always said this, I don't know why, but I always felt like them porting Starfield on a PS5 would just be such like a chore, because it's such a big game, right? Like you're just gonna be you're just expending more resources and more money to port this sort of mid to like really okay game to the PlayStation 5. And like, I'm sure that there's people out there that still want to play Starfield, but they don't have a PC, they don't have an Xbox to play it on. So now that it's going to be on PS5, okay, yeah, you know what? Now they could probably check it out. But even then, I feel like, you know, it's just a lot of resources and probably not worth the return. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know for sure how expensive it is to port, because they use the own internal engine Bethesda, so I don't know how easy it is to port stuff, because if this was like Unreal Engine, then usually that stuff is a bit easier from what I've been reading, but Gamebryo is like such a shit engine, which is why Starfield feels so ancient, even though it's like a 2023 game. I don't know how well that's going to work out for them, so I guess we'll see, but I guess they're seeing how big the install base is for a PlayStation, that they just see it as worth it at this point. And yeah, it's kind of just sad. I feel like the only game not getting ported is Redfall, because that game was ass. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. We're just gonna have to wait and see until next podcast episode when everything is confirmed or whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we have to say. Is there anything else you would like to add, good sir?
No, that's about everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 131. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.